just know you're not alone. 'Cause I'm gonna make this place your home.
Welcome to Good News with your host, Angela Savage. For the next hour, Angela will guide you on the road to happiness while describing her own journey with the help of friends and family of her father, championship racer Swede Savage. Phone lines are open at 702-483-4444. Once again, that's 702-483-4444. Or you can stream us online at vegasallnetradio.com. And now, let's start on the path of happiness together. Here's your host, Angela Savage.
Well, good morning and welcome to Good News with Angela Savage on Vegas All Net Radio. Happy New Year! 2016 is upon us, which you know what that means. We've all got a clean slate. We have a whole new chance to get this right. It's very clear to me that even one moment can change your life. So imagine what a whole year can do. Why don't we make this our goal to be our best we've been yet in 2016, and that means mind, body, and spirit. You know, eating healthy, a little working out, all that stuff. I think I have said before that on the way here I see some homeless people at this one cross section, and I've been giving them my lunch. So that today I actually hoping to see one of them again. I made a blessing bag, and I just want to show you what I made. So that maybe I could inspire you to do the same thing. I've got a V8 juice, some yogurt, toothbrush, apple, shaving cream, and a razor. And that was really all I could find on the way out. But, you know, I just keep this in my passenger seat. So when I see an opportunity or a need, I'm already ready, and I don't have to give away my own lunch, you know. And I know a lot of people don't feel really great about giving to the homeless people at the stoplights. But if I can just gently remind you, it's not for that person necessarily. It's just as good for you. Giving and being a giver and without bitterness or judgment, you know, that can do wonders of healing things for your soul. So if you can't be good because of someone else, do it because it'll make you feel good, right? And I think if we all just try a little harder this year, we can make the world a better place. My special guest today is Daly. Woohoo! Derek was born in Dublin, Ireland, and raised by a working-class family. He went from being a laborer in the iron ore mines of Australia to having a 17-year career as a professional race car driver at the highest levels. He competed in 64 Formula One races between 1978 and 1982, and then enjoyed an 8-year racing career in IndyCar. He survived a serious crash at the Michigan International Speedway in 1984, colliding nearly head-on with the concrete wall at an estimated 212 miles an hour. It was the hardest impact a race car driver had survived at the time. After 14 surgeries and 3 years in therapy, he returned to racing to win the biggest international races of his career, including the 12 Hours of Sebring twice. Upon his retirement from competitive driving, Derek began a distinguished career as a television broadcaster and expert motorsports analyst. He has written a highly regarded book called Race to Win, which has been referred to by Mario Andretti as the Bible for young aspiring drivers. He has a management and career development company, the Derek Daly Academy, which provides consulting services to young drivers and their families on what it takes to become a professional race car driver. His own son, Connor Daly, was recently selected by Dale Coyne Racing for a full-time IndyCar ride in 2016, so his methodology obviously works. Derek is also highly engaging. He's also a highly engaging motivational speaker who delivers inspiring messages to corporate audiences using lessons learned from his years in racing. Welcome to the program, Derek.
Wow, Angela, you sound like my marketing agent.
Well, maybe I could be.
Yeah.
Or maybe I already am. I just did, right? Happy New Year to you.
Good to talk to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How was the game yesterday?
Game was good. Yeah, I mean the Colts have struggled obviously this year. I usually go to a couple of games a year.
Uh-huh.
I'm fascinated by these star names and star players that we all get attached to, and our Andrew Luck got sidelined, so it was interesting to see different quarterbacks stepping into unfamiliar territory and doing actually a fairly good job.
Yeah, and they took the win, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yay,
Yes, they
Colts. All right, Colts. We love our Indiana Colts.
did. Yeah.
Okay, let's start with some questions. Are you ready?
Fire away.
Let's fire away. A few weeks ago, your son Connor announced a full-time IndyCar ride for 2016 with Dale Coyne Racing. Congratulations! Does this news validate the methodology you've developed for the Daly Academy and written about in your book, Race to Win?
Well, Angela, I can't really take credit for that because he's done so much himself. I mean, I can point him in the right direction.
Yes.
He then has to walk down the road himself.
Yes.
And he spent a lot of years in the junior formula and did all the right things from go-karting to Pro Mazda, Indy Lights. And he always had a dream. I want to become a professional race car driver. I'm not sure where I'll end up, but at least I want to give it a good go.
Mm-hmm.
And at one stage, he said, I'd really like to go to Europe because it's the toughest racing environment you can be in.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was able to point him in the right direction and get him connected with the right people. And he spent 4 years over there. And the logic of doing that, Angela, was if you spend 4 years in Europe, you can only be better.
Amen.
And now he came back. And last year, he was so frustrated because he sort of fell out of the loop a little bit. Got a little bit forgotten about when he went to Europe, and IndyCar teams, they struggle right now to generate sponsorships. So he sort of had to sit on the sidelines most of last year and fill in wherever he could, and did an outstanding job when he filled in. And now I told him just a couple of nights ago, I said, now the 4 years that you spent in Europe, now that you've signed a full-year contract, now it will come back to benefit you in spades, all that experience you got in Europe. So it's good for him. Yes, the methodology, I think that I understand and believe and try and deliver to these young drivers. That probably had a bit of an influence. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you and I know, Angela, that people have a responsibility to drive and achieve and stretch what they truly want to do.
Yes.
You can put them on the path, but they have a responsibility to go out and actually make it happen themselves.
That's exactly right. You must be over the moon with pride. I'm really excited to watch him race this year. I'll be out there. I wouldn't miss the 100th running of the IndyCar Indy 500. Are you going to be there?
Oh, every single day.
Of course you're going to be there.
Yeah. I got hooked up with our local Wish TV Channel 8 here 27 years ago. I did a couple of little pieces from the pit lane, and we've been doing them ever since. So
wow.
I've had a remarkable run of television broadcasting in the local market here, and so that brings me to the track every single day to watch what's going on. So
aren't you the luckiest man in the world?
It's a disease, right? You know that.
You get to hang out in our Disneyland every single day. I'm so happy for you. I could spend time every day there for sure. The place is magic. We all just know that.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about it is, Angela, as you well know, it's known the world over. I tell people today, where do you live? I live in Indianapolis. Oh, the 500, the big race. I mean, you can go into taxis in any city in the world and tell them Indianapolis, and they'll know something. They've heard the name. Oh, the race. Yeah. And so that's what's magic about the city, that they've built such a legacy on, competition on that oval.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's definitely never going to be forgotten, or there's just something about that track that seems to be anointed and has a really special energy, and being there for the race is it's so much more than you could really imagine. You really have to see it in person to feel the electricity go all through your body, and it's a rush. I mean, pun intended, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's a rush. How?
Yeah. I mean, it is, and I mean, your family, knows well part of the history of the Speedway because it can be good and bad, but it affects families in a certain way. Almost everybody that goes in that gate, and our families who have been lucky enough to be directly involved with what goes on.
Yeah.
You can't help but just feel part of the history of the great place.
Yes, and it was nice to me to finally find where I belong. The IndyCar people are my people, and I was wandering around on the world, really lost for the first 40 years, and I actually really did get to come home to Indiana, and it's all in my heart now. Everyone there,
Sure.
I'm drawn to the track and Indiana, the Speedway, like a magnet. Every day I feel that pull, and I've really got the "is it May yet" bug, that everyone else had in my life, and I couldn't quite get that, because I was I was still struggling with the ouchy part, the sad part. It took me this long just to get past the grief and start to enjoy what my father did and all of his accomplishments, and I'm having so much fun sharing all this stuff with new people, or people that were there that want to, remember now and talk about it, and even talk about how tough it was for them to see the crash.
Exactly.
Not only, I mean, it's not only hard for adults, but I always think of the young kids that were in the audience that day and how they were affected by something like that as children, and now I'm meeting a lot of these people that were in the audience as children, and we're getting to hug it out and just make it better. And it's really been magic. I'm just so honored and humbled to even be a part of it and get to talk to people as awesome as you, Derek.
Well, and so I've been in the media now for 28 years, after my driving. But you know that if you mention the name Swede Savage, almost everybody you meet at the Speedway knows the name, knows the history.
Yeah.
And they embrace the name and the history, and in turn embrace you. Isn't that amazing how the family stretches but never lets people go, never lets people just fall away, will always have an open arm, just whatever part of the history your family was involved in.
Yeah, and some people don't understand that I did not understand that. You always hear about the racing family, and I was just kind of, I don't know, I was doing my thing after that, because Swede was gone, and whatever.
Yeah.
But being able to come back, it's been amazing, and having all these people open their arms to me and tell me they've been here for me all this time, that's probably what kept me alive, was prayers for people that I didn't even know were praying for me. And and boy, I'm grabbing onto it too. It's something real that I've been looking for in my life, my whole life, and this is it. And I'm holding on to it tight, and I'm just so honored to be a part of it. How do you compare Connor to yourself at the same age, as far as driving, attitude?
Connor is so much better than I ever was.
I love that. You're so good.
Oh, so much better, and developed at such an early age. Remember, I never drove a racing car until I was 21 years of age. Connor was racing when he was 10.
Yeah.
And so his whole mental maturity was so much further ahead than mine. And I look at him, as a driver, and I was an emotionally driven driver. Something happens to me, and I just
you lose it. Yeah.
Connor is so much more laid back than me, which plays into his advantage when he's in a racing car, because he doesn't have these emotional highs and lows like I would have had.
You got to keep that cool, stay in the zone.
Yeah,
keep it level.
So as a package, he's so much better prepared, and he knows so much more. But in fairness, when I was in Formula One in 1978, which ironically was the year that Mario became world champion, we didn't have coaches, or we didn't have managers, we didn't have mentors.
Right.
And you didn't just have the information that's freely available today. So, I often look back and say, I wish I had this all available to me. But if I had, I probably wouldn't have had the education that I had through the difficult times. And the education and the difficult times led me to writing the book, which led me to be in a position to perhaps pass along that information to lots of young drivers today. So, you know, we could all wish that things were a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the experiences and use those experiences to be better yourself and potentially radiate that to other people, that's what I used my history for. Mm-hmm. And, you know, maybe that was able to rub off a little bit on Connor and you know, and allow him to go live his dream. Because, I mean, he's living his dream in a sport.
Is that just the best thing for you to see your son do? I mean, is that your heart
and
just...
I told him all along, you do not do this for me. I do not need to live vicariously through you. I will help you in every possible way, but you have to be pulling me. I'm not going to be pulling you through the sport. If you're pulling me, I'll go the distance with you and help you in any way. But it has to be your dream.
Well, you know, you're pretty incredible and you're humble about it, but it's obvious that Connor has a wonderful dad and a mentor and a teacher and a friend and an informer. You know, I just want to give you credit because, you know, I didn't get to have that. And I probably might have been like a little Connor out there in the carts by 10. I mean, I would have. Yeah. I'm a motorhead. I would have done it, you know. And I'm so happy for Connor that he gets the opportunity to come up behind someone as awesome as you and have that, you know. And that's just makes you so awesome. Yeah. I think you should get a lot of credit for that too, you know. And I love seeing the father-son driver teams. I mean, there's many. There's you and Connor. There's Graham Hill and Damon Hill. There's Mario Andretti, Michael Andretti, Al Unser Sr., Jr., Bobby Ray Hall and Graham Ray Hall. Talent hereditary?
Well, I would say no, because my dad sold vegetables in a corner grocery store, had no interest in cars. Never involved in racing. We had absolutely zero family involvement in the sport at all before I started.
So now, what was the exact, and why did you first get started if you weren't following any footsteps?
Yeah, I was always fascinated by cars, loved things mechanical, always played, you know, even when I was on a bicycle, take it apart, pull it apart, take the wheels off, paint it. But, you know, I was very much a hands-on mechanical. And I remember I don't remember how it happened, but I got interested in Formula One. It was very hard to pick it up on television. You had to call the local newspaper late at night to see, did they by any chance have the results of the Grand Prix?
Wow.
That it wasn't freely available. And then I started racing demolition derby and jalopies when I was 16.
How
because
fun.
In Ireland you couldn't get a license to drive a car till you're 18, but you could get a motorcycle license to drive a 50cc motorcycle when you were 16. That was enough impetus to get me at least being able to be mobile and travel to multiple places, have a little toolbox on the back, and build up this demolition derby because I was just fascinated by cars and mechanics and competition. I mean, it was fairly humble beginnings, but you know, and Connor's a bit different because he grew up with it. He was, you know, when he was in the womb, he was at Indy. You know, when he was born, racing babies, a little babysitting service under the grandstand coming out of turn 4. That's where he spent his early days. You know, so he grew up with the noise and the hustle and bustle of racing cars, even though he never actually saw me race because I was in television broadcasting. And still at the Speedway, which is why he was there every day.
Yeah. Wow. That's just great. Yeah. Listen, I need to take a really quick break, if you don't mind. Can you hang on for just a moment, Derek?
Absolutely.
Okay, remember you're listening to Good News with Angela Savage on Vegas AllNet Radio. Please download the smartphone app, VANR, and like my Good News with Angela Savage page, and subscribe to my YouTube channel of the same name. Thank you, and we'll be right back.
I'm gonna make this place your home.
Welcome back. Let's get back on the path to happiness. Once again, here's Angela Savage.
Happy New Year and welcome back to Good News with Angela Savage on Vegas All Net Radio. Today I'm talking to Derek Daly. How you doing, Derek? You still there?
I am still here.
Oh, good. It's nice to hear that voice. Now that Connor has a full-time IndyCar ride, what will he have to do to begin winning and to sustain a high level of performance?
Well, it's a complex sport, and unlike stick and ball sports, like we were talking about the NFL yesterday, a football team can play badly for the whole game and have one magic play and win. In racing, you seldom ever recover from a mistake. Like if you have a bad practice session, it's hard to recover and qualify well. If you have a bad qualifying session, it's hard to recover and race well. If you have bad pit stops, it's hard to recover.
Can you tell me why? Why is that?
Well, because everything's going so fast. So, for example, at Indy, you're doing 200 miles an hour. You cover the full length of a football field every second. So if you have a bad pit stop and you lose, let's say, 4 seconds, that's easy. It's not much. That's four football fields advantage you've given somebody else.
Wow.
It's virtually impossible to pull that back unless they make the same mistake. So the beauty of motor racing is it's so on the edge that you have to do so many things right, consistently, right from the time you start to practice, that I think as a sport, it stretches people, I think, physically, mentally, and emotionally more than any other sport I know. And I think, when you add the danger level to it, that's probably what attracts drivers to it in the first place.
Yes.
The fact that you push the edges and boundaries of what might be possible, that is the attraction to the great sport. And when you understand that people, try to do that and match themselves man and machine against man and machine, they are doing something that very few people can do. Very few people would even dare try to do.
Yeah,
and that's what's so great about this sport.
I call them our modern day gladiators. I don't see them as anything less than that. I think that's true. Yeah, I think it's true because remember, Angela, you can't go down to your local sporting goods store and buy a racing car or a fireproof suit or a proper crash helmet. You can buy baseballs and basketballs and golf clubs and NFL footballs and everything just to go
else
practice, right? Just to get started.
It's just that little bit untouchable for most people.
Yeah, definitely. And then even the best of the best aren't going to make it to the top. It's sort of a lottery too, because so many little things have to fit together in order to get you to that place. It's magic if you get to be part of the 33, and now I get to watch your son do it next year. I'm so excited. I want to ask, I'm going to talk a little bit more about your crash in a minute, but just right now, I'd like to ask you, is it hard for you to see Connor get in the car? I mean, I know that was a long time ago that you had your crash, and I just wanted to know, how hard was it for you to get back in the car the very first time? And then how hard was it at first or now to watch your son doing the same thing?
And so you have to understand that is a question I get asked so many times, particularly when Connor was still in high school. Moms and dads in what I call mainstream living America cannot understand how you would want your son to drive racing cars because
people die.
Oh, I know. Yeah. And so they can't understand how that can happen. And I say to them, statistically, the most dangerous sport in the world, if you were to Google the most dangerous sport in the world today, Angela, do you know what the answer is?
What is that?
Fishing.
That's ridiculous.
More people die fishing than ever in racing.
How do you even die fishing?
You fall out of the boat, you fall into the river.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's an amazing statistic. And I don't think we can live our lives afraid of what might happen.
That's right.
Otherwise, we may never send people to college, because there are more people killed in colleges. We may never send them to the movies because of what's happened these days. So I don't believe we can live our life dependent upon, what might happen. Mm-hmm. But what we can do is enjoy watching people live their passion, be involved in what they're passionate about. And as long as Conor was passionate about it, I look back and say, wow, I'm so glad my son got to live his dream. And nothing would ever stop me. Nothing. I mean nothing, Angela.
Yes.
The consequences of what could happen would never, ever stop me from enjoying it and supporting him and encouraging him to go out onto that ragged edge and chase what could be possible for you.
Well, you know, I have two sons. Chance is 9 and Cruz is 4. And so as a mother, you know, it's easy for me to feel that fear, you know, and I have to be, I you know, because of the family history, I've said before, it's not a natural progression to follow the footsteps. It's more of an unnatural progression, and I've been really working on that, and I'm past it now, you know. But it was a real struggle just when they were born. I was already, what if they want to do that? Oh my gosh, you know. And I read something. It says fear doesn't prevent death. Fear prevents life. And I think that's a great saying. You know, we can't live under the spirit of fear because, you know, that just ruins everything. And even past that, it'll take you out of the zone. And if you're afraid, you're making yourself in a more dangerous predicament, you know. So,
right. And so let me ask you this, Angela.
Yes.
So when Chance and Cruz want to go fishing, would you let them? If they want to go to college, would you let them?
Yes.
If they want to drive on the road, would you let them?
Yes.
I know, as silly as those questions sound,
I totally get it.
Interrelated, but I absolutely love what you just said. Fear doesn't
prevent death. Fear prevents life.
That is incredible. I love that.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
I meditated on that for a while yesterday, and you know, it really works for me. It works for me. I am not afraid. You know, I'm done with that. I've spent too many of my years anxious, afraid, addicted, depressed, and all that. I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm ready to really just live it to the fullest, love my origins, and let my kids do whatever they want to do. They're so awesome. You know, it really wouldn't surprise me if that was a way they went. And now, you know, I can handle it better. A lot of it's because I have all this support from the racing community now.
Sure.
You know, and that obviously makes all the difference. You know, just having that kind of support. What are some of the most important things involved in the process of becoming a professional race car driver that you outline in your book, Race to Win?
Well, I think I believe that you're born with an ability to understand the dynamics of a vehicle. It's sort of a feel in the seat of your pants. You have to understand innately, you know, what you're going to try and do. And if you're born with that ability, because like I wasn't an athlete as such, I was an awkward soccer player in school.
Oh,
I don't have the balance and the hand-eye coordination that the great stick and ball athletes have. You know, the grace that they have.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever I stepped into a car, I immediately was better than most people. I knew exactly what was going on and exactly what I could do and what I couldn't do. So let's say you're born with that ability. Then you have to have the desire and commitment to overcome everything that will come in your way. Because it is, without a doubt, one of the most difficult sports to succeed in. And because you can't hide anything in our sport. If you're not physically strong enough, you will not be able to drive fast on the last lap like you were on the first lap.
right.
If you're not emotionally stable, you could make mistakes that could have dire consequences.
Yes.
If you do not have the mental skills to be absolutely relentless and single-minded focused, you could go off the road and make mistakes in long, fast races. So you can't hide anything. So you have to develop all these skills to what I call the complete package, the complete champion package, as you develop, through your teenage years. And the hope is that the really talented guys are able to come across somebody or the information that will show them the skills they need to develop and then help them develop. Because sometimes you have to bring in outside what I call component coaches. If you need mental skills development and strengthening, there are specialized people who can actually do that. So there will be component coaches that would come in, just like a personal trainer.
Right.
If you're not physically strong enough to drive a big, fast, heavy racing car that's going to pull 4 and 5 Gs around corners, you got to bring in a personal trainer to get your body in shape.
Right.
And so, you have to learn all of these skills and put this complete package together. At the same time, get with a team that has good machinery, good, fast racing cars. At the same time, get with good engineers who can work with you to sort this car out, to make it as fast as it can possibly be. And then that all happens before you even take the green flag.
Yes.
So it's an unbelievably complex sport that has incredible rewards for those who are successful. Rewards now, not just for drivers,
Yes.
but mechanics will work day and night on these racing cars. And if they see their driver stand on the victory podium, the reward for them is emotional in addition to financial. And unlike stick and ball, where you can just say, okay, we lost that game, let's move on to the next one. There's so much involved in racing that the rewards for success are so much greater, the emotional rewards.
Yes, I can imagine. Gosh, just that feeling, the people that win the Indy 500, I can't imagine what that must feel like. How do you not just fall apart? It's so much excitement. That moment when you see them in the winner's circle, and
it's life-changing. It's completely life-changing.
Yeah, and you can feel it. You can see it.
Yeah.
You know all this stuff's happening. It's something else. You moved to Australia at a young age to be a laborer in the ore mines to earn extra money to go racing. Do you think that young drivers today have the same level of commitment?
No, I don't.
I had a feeling you might say that.
Particularly in America.
Yeah.
When I did that, I did it out of need. We didn't have anything. There wasn't an ability to make a big chunk of money in a short period of time. My experience with Americans is that the life is too good in America. People mostly have what they need. They're not driven to outlandish lengths to try and go and get something.
Mm-hmm.
And I, in general, I have found that the entitlement mentality has held so many American athletes back. Particularly in racing. And so I go to Europe regularly, and people like Jackie Stewart, 3-time Formula One world champion, will tell you that when Americans go to Europe, if they don't have the right amount of heat or air conditioning, they just don't feel, they're out of sorts.
That's it. It's already over.
Never heard of heat or air conditioning.
No air, I'm out.
But you know what I mean? You get my point.
I do. I absolutely do get your point. And I know that I hear people not complain, but there's a little people want to see more Americans in the Indy 500, I think. And I guess it comes down to the reason that I don't know. I don't want to speculate or anything, but I have heard that Americans want to see more Americans in the race again. American, European, purple, blue, if you can do it, then you deserve to be there. That's how I feel. But I know that some people would like to see more Americans run in the race. But
listen, Angela, the Indy 500 has gone downhill for the last 25 years. Do you know why?
Why?
Because as we washed out the American heroes and the role models, as they got replaced by Europeans, I'm sorry to say, the interest also left as the American heroes left. And IndyCar have done a terrible job of understanding that the very future of the race depends on the American heroes and role models.
Yeah.
And so I do television on a regular basis. Do you know that in 2010 I did a report for television that said there was only 4 full-time Americans on the grid at the Indy 500.
Wow.
Now, what a disgrace that is.
That's a low ratio.
Absolutely. So do you think there's any reason why there was very few people sitting in the grandstands? Absolutely not, because national pride says that we support Americans. I'm the biggest proponent for saying unless you get kick-ass, successful Americans back in this race, it will continue to bobble along the bottom of the barrel as regards general interest.
Right.
And so my hope is that now Graham Rahal and Joseph Newgarden and Sage Karam and Conor Daly, and the new blood of IndyCar can come along and grow to be successful, kick-ass race winners. And then we can get Europeans coming over, and we don't care who comes over.
Right.
Because we're gonna kick their ass and send them home.
Well, I think
now you build passionate interest in the sport, because right now we have passive interest. We need to build passionate interest. And you only build passionate interest by wrapping national pride around the event, and that only happens with American drivers in the field, successful American drivers.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, interesting. You called last year's IndyCar race at Fontana the finest IndyCar race you've ever witnessed. However, some of the best drivers in the series criticized the danger involving that kind of racing. As someone who suffered serious injuries on a similar high-speed oval, why is your opinion different from some of those drivers who were critical of the race in Fontana?
Because those drivers are making emotionally laid statements. They just thought, oh, this is too fast. I could get hurt. I didn't see anybody getting hurt.
Yeah, right.
Racing is safer today than it's ever been. Cars are safer than they've ever been.
Yeah.
Safer walls absorb the energy.
Amen.
If you don't like it, shut up or go and do something else.
I love that. I like that. Listen,
it was the finest oval track race I've ever seen. Now, interesting, Angela, there was only 4,000 people showed up to watch it.
I know, and I was really bummed I didn't go because I thought about it. I just live right here in Vegas. It's not that far, and I almost went.
Well,
and I missed it. Darn it.
And so here's what happened. People said, oh, well, that's a major problem. Only 4,000 people showed up to watch the race. I thought, that isn't a problem. That's a symptom. Only 4,000 people cared enough to show up. So your problem is not 4,000 people showing up. That's your symptom. Your problem is you need to make more than 4,000 people care.
You got to connect with the and give the people what they want. That's the only way you're going to get them to buy tickets for anything is to cater to them. The only way
to do that, Angela, is you have to give them a reason to care. And the only reason Americans care is because American heroes need to be developed.
Well, I'm doing my best.
They appreciate foreign drivers and they appreciate their skills, but they don't follow them passionately. We've now proven that for 20 years. So that's why it needs kick-ass American human drama storylines. That's what will begin to bring people back to watch these races.
Well, that's kind of what I'm trying to do is these kick-ass human storylines about the old heroes, from the 70s and the 60s. And, I'm really trying to pump up the history of IndyCar because there's nothing more fascinating than that. And in my small way, I hope to help that along a little bit. I don't know what I could do, but Janet Guthrie's going to be my guest soon, and I've got John Martin lined up. I got Mel Kenyon coming on, so I'm trying to do my part to really pump up these heroes. We can't.
What about Conor Daly?
And Conor Daly!
Come on. We have to balance the history with the current, the present,
yes,
and the future history makers.
And I'm trying to, history meshed with some current events is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, love it.
Since you were talking about the impact and the way they've changed the walls to absorb, the hit. Tell me, Derek, what is it like to hit a wall at 210 miles an hour, 212 miles an hour? What does it feel like? Was it slow motion? Just tell me what it was like.
I can remember when I lost control. It just began to haze, not rain, but just a sort of a heavy haze minutes before it actually rained, because I lost control because the surface had just become damp. And I remember losing control. When the car spun, my head got shot out of the cockpit because the G-forces were so high when it spun sideways. The last thing I remember was I said to myself, oh, SH1T.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I remember, I said, just in case I hit the wall really hard, I better pull my feet back as far as I can into the cockpit. Just in case, because the front of the car was so short.
In case because you were heading directly for another after the first hit, and the front of your car was ripped off. And your legs were exposed. You were headed for the wall again.
Right.
And
Yeah.
at the very last
Yeah.
minute, somebody came and tapped your car enough to put you in a different direction
Yeah.
and probably saved your life.
Absolutely. John Paul Jr.
John
'Cause
Paul
after the
Jr.
first impact. The first impact was at 212 miles an hour, and it went straight in, and the car literally exploded. Now, I was holding my legs back, luckily, because I would have got my legs chopped off. They still got seriously injured, but from the point of impact, I have no memory.
Mm-hmm.
I have no recollection of what happened until about a second or two before the car stopped rolling down off the banking. I suddenly woke up again, and I remember everything from then on.
Mm-hmm. So you blacked out for a
what's it like? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I certainly know what it's like to try and recover from severe critical orthopedic injuries, because that started a series of 14 surgeries and 3 years in therapy. Just trying to get my life back together.
Well, and then you went back to race. You put your fear behind you. You didn't let it kill your drive, and you got back in the car and had some awesome. You had 12 hours of Sebring that you won twice. I understand that you were driving 2 cars in one of the races, so you actually got first and second place. That's so awesome. I mean, that's really great. He was driving 2 cars, so when he had the break, he'd hop in another car. So he was sort of racing himself. And got first and second. So I think that is really awesome. You weren't scared the first time getting back in the car for the race? You weren't?
Well, I'm not saying I wasn't scared. I think drivers who say that that they're able to block out fear, I think they have to be aware of it, but they can actually put it into a compartment and not have it slow their performance.
Mm-hmm.
But, you talk about, why would I go back to racing after something like that? When I was 12 years of age, my dad told me, and I told him I wanted to be a professional race car driver. One of the things he told me at the time, which it really didn't register with me, but he said, remember, you have complete control of the legacy that you'll leave in the sport, which didn't make any sense to me at the time, but it did after I had my accident, because I thought, I would never want this accident to be the legacy that I would leave.
Right.
And that's what drove me back to physical therapy at a faster clip, I think, than at any time than most people would. And that's what, quite frankly, drove me back to competition, because I wanted to leave on my own terms, not on the terms of an accident. And I'm so glad I did, because I had more success after my accident. Right. And although Angela, people say, well, how can you do that? Were you still as good afterwards? I think I was better afterwards. I don't think I was as fast afterwards, because you just stay inside that tiny ragged edge. But I was better because I now knew the consequences.
Right.
I was able to make more measured moves and more measured controlled drives. And arguably, I was even better, even though I may not have been quite as fast, because I wouldn't go on the ragged edge after my accident like I would before.
Right. We're coming to the end of the hour, so I want to make sure I get this question to you before we run out of time. Part of my show is about overcoming difficulties in life. Obviously, you've, with your crash and other things, you've had your struggles. How did you overcome that? I mean, how did you get through that time when you really just could it was sink or swim? What made you swim?
Well, I was in the hospital, in Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis, during my recovery, and a friend of mine walked in, and could see I was in difficulty. And one day he said to me, do you ever think, Derek, you could have difficulty be your gift, given to you to grow you and to stretch you and to potentially give you a golden opportunity to show that what happened actually made you bigger, better, faster, stronger than you ever were before? And that one question, potentially changed my life.
That's so good. I can really let that resonate with me too. That's just, it's really beautiful.
So I now use that. I say to people who I know have difficulty, I said, do you think you could have difficulty be your gift.
That is really, really beautiful advice.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
Isn't it? And so,
I'm using
that changed my life to a great extent. And I use this regularly when I see people going through difficulty, because remember, it's not the event that causes your strife or your emotional stress. It's your interpretation of the event.
Right. I totally get that, and attitude.
And it's amazing, Angela, when you're forced through life's experiences, you get these lessons at an accelerated rate.
Yeah, amen.
And I think it's up to people like you and me to maybe pass along some of these lessons that we learned the hard way. That can actually affect other people. To maybe guide them or not allow them to fall into a big hole that they may fall into without this critical information.
Well, you really inspired me when you said that you didn't want a crash to be your last legacy. A lot of people remember when you say Sweet Savage, it's hard not to picture that giant explosion in your head. It's nearly impossible. And I'm sure my dad felt the same way. That's why he hung on for 33 days in the hospital after the crash, and the doctors didn't even know why. They said, we don't know why he's alive. He's living on spirit right now, and that's it. So that is really encouraging for me, because I've noticed when I first got on social media, people wanted to focus on the crash, and I said, listen, there's so much more than that. Let's put the sadness down. Let's call the mourning over. It's been 40 years already, and let's focus on all the rad things that he did. And it seems like I'm helping that process a little bit through Facebook and some of the other social media outlets. And so that really encourages me to keep doing that, because at this point, we're not just remembering Swede for his crash anymore. We're remembering him for how, I almost cussed right there, for how awesome he is and was, and all the great things he accomplished by 26 years old. He had accomplished so much. So thank you for encouraging me to keep doing what I'm doing here, and to make sure that his legacy is not that crash, that stupid crash. It's all the stuff he did do,
Exactly.
And according to George Bignotti, the crash was not my father's fault. So hopefully that can put to silence some of the theories that are going around. We've come to the end here of my show. Did you have any final thoughts you wanted to put out here, Derek?
No, I'm glad you called me. I'm thrilled to be able to come on and just share a couple of little things to add to your legacy, to your dad's legacy.
Thank you.
When I see you at Indy, I want you to give me a big hug, because I'm certainly going to be giving you one.
Can't wait. I can't wait. I want to read your book.
We'll have a laugh, and we'll sit back and watch Connor and another generation of driver. Do what your dad chased. Live his dream.
Let's make sure we get together at some point next year, during the end of May for the 100th running.
I'll be there every day.
All right, you live there practically. I know where to find you. You'll have to.
And you have my phone number, so just text me as soon as you get there.
Oh, I sure will. You haven't heard the last from me yet, and I'd love to have you back on my show. If you're ever in Las Vegas, come in the studio. It's so much more fun when we can talk, and actually look at each other. So that's an open door for you. This is an open door of communication for you. Anytime you want to come on the show, Derek, it's open for you to come on and chit chat with me about whatever you want.
Okay, I'm in Vegas, I think in April sometime.
Okay, let's schedule you. Can we schedule you pick a Monday? Pick a Monday in April, Monday morning, and we'll get you in the studio. I'm right by the Strip.
Okay, good.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, thank you so much. I mean, this has been such a pleasant chit chat, and I can't wait to talk with you more. Please stay in touch. I love Fleetwood Mac. I've had this song requested before. It's The Chain. We know that was the theme song for Formula One, right? For so many years.
All through my early years.
Oh, I just love Fleetwood Mac.
When that came on, it was just, you just knew, boom, Formula One race.
That's a band for the Indy 500. Have they been there yet? Where's Stevie Nicks? We need Stevie Nicks. Stevie.
We do. Yeah, exactly.
Stevie. I'll sing the chain with you, Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
well, I'm going to go ahead and get off the phone now and get to your song. Thanks again for calling in. And remember, you're listening to Good News with Angela Savage on the Phone Van R app. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Good News with Angela Savage page on Facebook. Thank you, Derek Daly. I'm going to go ahead and play your favorite song by Fleetwood Mac, The Chain.